Luka Doncic has got no answer when coming up against athletic wings. We saw it earlier in the week when the Lakers played the Knicks and that game went to overtime. OG Anunoby gave Doncic absolute hell. This time round, Doncic had to go up against Jaylen Brown and had no answer again. Whenever he comes up against a player that's more athletic than him, just as strong as him, and has good length, then Doncic really finds it difficult to create separation, to find daylight, and just to get himself to his spots quickly. And that's because when you're against an athletic wing, any space you create gets shut down real quickly. If you create separation coming off the screen, it gets closed down. If you create separation off the bounce, it gets closed down. You don't really generate much off bump creation, and bump creation is obviously when you bump into a guy to step off, like a veer step or something along those lines, because strong players can absorb that shit and stay connected with you. So, Billy, man, I just want to just get your take on this real quick, how you thought Brown played him. And I know you've got a nickname you want to throw out there. So let's start with that. We'll start with the fun stuff.
Yeah, the hot topic of the last couple of weeks has been nicknames for Tatum. I think we're ignoring JB, and the perfect one for JB is the blueprint, because he just set the blueprint since the finals of how to shut down Luka Doncic, and it's something that other teams are picking up on. And not everybody has a nice athletic wing like JB, but you have guys that are close, like the OG Anunobys of the world, that can kind of do the same things that really mess with somebody like Luka Doncic. And I love that JB's kind of becoming what I always kind of molded him into, is like a modern Scottie Pippen, where he's just this unbelievable defender. And he does still have the weaknesses off ball, but on ball defense, Jaylen Brown is one of the best. And thankfully, Luka doesn't play a lot of off ball, so none of Jaylen's flaws show when he guards Luka.
And that's a really big question for the Lakers, right? Like, when you come into these matchups against teams with an OG or with a Jaylen, do you need to move Luka into an off-ball position? Do you need him attacking on the second side rather than at the point of attack? Because it's really difficult for him to create space, where if he's on the second side, he can attack off the catch. You've already shifted the defense. Maybe he can find some more luck there. But in terms of actual on-ball creation against elite high-level wing defenders that have his number athletically and physically, I think there's some issues. So I'm going to pull up, I've got two clips I want to play through. I'm going to pull up the first one, then we'll have a chat, then we'll go to the next one. So this first one's early in the game. It's Brown guarding Doncic. There's a pick and roll involved, and then Doncic tries to create some separation off the bounce. And just watch how well that Brown navigates that pick and roll, and then navigates kind of having to stay on the tip of the balls of his feet as he guards Doncic's crossovers without allowing Doncic to create space, because of Brown's ability to explode into gaps. So I thought this was a really good example. It ends in a steal and a run out. So, you know, we've all seen the game by now, so I'm not ruining anything for anybody. So if we see here, look, you got Brown comes, navigates the screen really well. Doncic with a snapback, another crossover, not creating any separation from Brown. Brown's suffocating him right there. Gets the easy steal with the run out. Ageless Al with the dunk. And I think, and then you got Doncic on the floor holding his face, because, you know, it's not because he got hurt, it's just because he got destroyed. And I think that for me, the biggest takeaway here is, even when Doncic is trying to create space off the bounce, he doesn't have that explosive first step. And when you don't have that explosive first step, it's really difficult to try and get somebody on the back of your hips. And that's even worse when you're against an athletic wing, somebody that can close space quickly, because they're quick. They have a couple of gears they can get through. They can explode into space fast. Doncic just doesn't have the ability to create that space off the first step and then maintain that distance or put a guy in jail. Now, when you see Doncic really excel is when he's against a wing that's either not as strong as him or is around his level athletically. There aren't many like Jaylen Brown level athletes in the NBA, especially ones that have his on-ball skill set, his ability to run out in transition and score under control. Like, Brown's got quite a complete package for the role he plays. And Anunoby is one of those guys that does fall into that kind of caveat group where we're talking about right now. But I found it really interesting to just see how much Doncic struggled, because he didn't have the room to operate where he could set a guy up with a move and then hit him with a counter, because Brown was just suffocating that space all the way through. And it did give us a throwback to what we saw during the NBA Finals last year when Luka was on the Mavs.
To me, it's all about the patience and the basketball IQ of Brown to not only stay in front of him, not fall for the bait, and to guard him without fouling. That's really the problem with a lot of guys guarding Luka. They're going to take the bait, and he's going to be able to create contact and get to the foul line. Even though he's out of shape, we've seen guys like Harden during times of his career when he's out of shape as well that can still, even though they're they should be in better shape and athletic and all that. They can take advantage of the guy if the guy's not playing proper defense. But because Jaylen stays home, he stays in front, he does not overplay it. It's beautiful. It's exactly how you want to guard Luka Doncic.
The other aspect is as well, the Celtics send help. They have a really well-defined gap help strategy, whether that's nail help, whether it's just gap help on the wings. There's always somebody digging into space to just pressure the ball, make you pick it up, make you think twice. There was a play early in the game as well where I can't remember who was guarding Doncic, but I know that Brown was an off-ball defender and he kind of stunted towards the nail just to offer some nail help as Doncic tried to penetrate. And it just completely flustered Doncic because he's like, dude, this guy, if I try and turn the Jets on, this guy's going to beat me to my spot. If I try and snap back, then my on-ball defender's back on me. There's not really much I can do. And it just ended up getting the ball out of his hands. So I've actually got that clip now. So we're going to pull this one up here. So he's on Horford. Horford was guiding him in space. But as Doncic crossed Horford over and went towards the paint, Brown was right there at the nail, just helping out on that nail help. And Doncic had nowhere to go. So he had to, like, I think he settled for a fadeaway there after Brown had recovered off his dig. That's fine. Like, if you're going to force Doncic into picking the ball up off a drive, and now he's got to settle for a contested fadeaway over a big man as versatile as Al Horford, I'm down with it. So what I'm getting at here is, yeah, it's all well and good forcing mismatches, getting switches onto a big man and asking Doncic to cook that way. But when a team like Boston has such good gap help and such good just help defense in general, and that help coming is from guys that he typically struggles with, guys with good length, guys that have got a good vert. So if he tries to pull up, somebody's just going to rise up and meet that shot at the apex anyway. It's really difficult, man. I think that the way the Celtics are constructed and the wing defenders they have on that roster make life really tough for Luka. It's just not a great matchup for him at all.
That's where Mazzulla needs to get a lot more credit because his defensive schemes are amazing. The way he sends the help, it never comes from the same place, and the offensive player never knows when it's coming. Because sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it comes from like Jaylen Brown coming over like that. Sometimes it will come from somebody else. It's really, really cool, like how we can blitz these guys without them even having any clue what's coming.
Yeah, Mazzulla's overall defensive strategies all year have been really good. He's super creative with that stuff, knowing when to put help, where he wants his help defense to come from, when he wants you to attack gaps, when he wants you to stay home. And you've seen it since the All-Star break, just the way the Celtics are playing passing lanes as well, the anticipation, the way they're kind of like counter basketball, right? You know, like counter punching. They'll force you into making a swing pass because they've shut down the first side and now you need to swing it over, and then they'll jump on the weak side and grab that pass and get out on the lane as well. I'm a bit annoyed that by the time we're recording this, and I know we've held off a little bit as well, like the matchup data is still not available on NBA.com because I'd be very interested to see just exactly how well Doncic did when matched up with Brown versus when he was matched up with everybody else. One aspect that I've enjoyed, and I'm writing about this at the moment, it'll be out in today's newsletter, isn't so much the shots that Brown defended, it's the shots that never occurred because of Brown's defense. And I think that that's always an underrated aspect because it doesn't show up in a stat sheet. There's no such thing as a shot that didn't happen stat because how do you quantify that? How do you know a shot was actually going to occur there? So I pulled a clip that I thought was great defense from Brown and shows exactly what we're talking about in the way that Brown just doesn't allow Doncic to create that gap, to create that separation. And even if Doncic is trying to finish on his offhand on a drive, it's at Brown's pace because Brown's the stronger one. He's the more athletic one. He's longer than Doncic. It's just everything is at Brown's terms. And I say this all the time. A good defense controls the terms of engagement. They control where they let you attack. They control who they let attack. And they control where shots come from for most of the play. You're never going to get it every time. Good defense can get beat by better offense. But more often than not, if you can control the terms of engagement, you're controlling the game. So I'm just going to pull up this last clip. And we've just got Brown. Oh, sorry, that's the same clip. There we go. If you've got, I've pulled the same clip twice, haven't I? There we go. So you've got Brown here guarding Doncic. Doncic is driving in from the slot, but Brown just stay connected to his hips. Let me play that once more. See how just Doncic has no airspace. He tries to push Brown off, tries to shrug him, just tries to power his way. There's an offhand layup there available, but Doncic is operating at Brown's pace. Brown isn't operating at Doncic's pace. That to me is just as important, if not more important, than a good shot contest because the shot didn't happen. That's a high quality shot. It's getting into the paint within 4 feet of the basket. 90 times out of 100, Doncic is going to find a way to get that in, whether he's going to come under the rim and use the rim as a shot blocking protection or whatever. But if you stop that from happening, those bailout passes, or those kind of like I like to kind of call it like a bow down, like, okay, you got me here, let me kick it back out, we're going to have to reset. Those add up and they become deflating quite quickly when you're like, man, I can't even get to the rim and finish because this dude's just suffocating me. So that to me stands out just as much as a good shot contest.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about the mental aspect of this as well, because Jaylen Brown's become his like Freddy Krueger. I think when Luka Doncic goes to sleep at night, he's having nightmares of Jaylen. And what it does is it frustrates Luka to a point where he's not getting back on defense. He's crying at the refs. He's really costing his team possession after possession. That's not even the ones where, you know, where Jaylen has shut him down or guarded him. It's the play after that. It's the play after that. And it really takes like his soul out of the game, which is what you really want to do to your opponents, right? You just want to rip out their hearts.
I mean, I'm just going to be fair. I think we do need to give Luka some flowers here, because Jaylen shut him down and he still shot 50% from the field. You know what I mean? He still went 34 points, 11 of 22 shooting, 50% straight up, 5 of 10 from deep. I've just pulled up his box score. 7 of 8 from the line, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Doncic still had himself a night, but what's crazy is how good could that night have been if it wasn't against Jaylen Brown? Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of that is Doncic gets so caught up in this, I need to beat him, I need to score, that you take away some of his playmaking prowess. You take away some of the other things he does well, because he gets caught up and sucked into this one-on-one matchup. And that's what I do expect if the Celtics ever see the Lakers in a big series. Off-ball Doncic would probably be an opportunity for him to try and win that matchup a little bit more, especially because they've got the LeBron James ball handling. So I do want to point that out. I think that we can talk about the mental aspect for sure, because Brown gave him fits all game. But Doncic is going to come away from this and be like, yo, this dude gave me fits and I still dropped 34 and I still shot 50%. In a 7-game series, some adjustments, maybe there's going to be a game or two where Brown can't contain the guy.
It reminds me of kind of Giannis and Embiid, though. It's like, yeah, he got his 34 points, but he got it on our terms. He had to work for it. It was a lot harder. So, like, it's really like kind of deceiving, because if you just looked at the box score and didn't watch the game, you'd be like, man, Luka really kind of had it. You know, he went at it like over 50% from the field. I don't know why everybody loves field goal percentage now. We should all just be using true shooting, but it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, his true shooting was up anyway. His true shooting would have been around about 70-80%.
Which is more impressive to me. Yeah, 100%. It's just, I hate the field goal argument because Tatum's still getting crap. That's a topic for another day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to pull up his true shooting now, actually. It seems like, because I'm fine using true shooting percentage. Okay, so I was a bit high, 66.6% true shooting. He was the highest guy in the Lakers. The only guy with better true shooting than him across the board was Luke Cornett, which was 77.3%, but a much lower volume. So, yeah, he had the best shooting, like true shooting out of everyone on the floor all game. But as you said, he got it on the Celtics terms. And that's where I'm coming from with, you dictate the terms of engagement. You force them into shots that you're willing to live with. And if they make them, then fine. And this is exactly what Brown is so good at doing. We've seen in the clips, he's so good at taking away that airspace and forcing Luka to where Brown wants Luka to go. Because Luka tries to cross him over, it's a steal. Luka tries to power him off, he's not going anywhere. You don't have the burst to create it and get him locked into jail. And he's a better screen navigator than 80% of wing defenders, 90% of wing defenders. It's just tough living, man. So yeah, I'm gonna just wrap this up and say that I don't know how Luka develops a counter for what Jaylen Brown brings to the floor when he's guarding him.
Yeah, I don't think there is a counter. I mean, honestly, if Jaylen is able to play like at this level, and like I said, it's because he's not playing off ball, he's playing somebody that's on ball all the time, and there's not many guys, maybe you can count on one hand, that can guard one-on-one better than Jaylen Brown in today's NBA.
And that's a problem, because if you're Luka Doncic and you're going to be carrying the weight of the Lakers on your shoulders, now don't get me wrong, you can scheme an extra 4 or 5 possessions to get Luka going. You can do that and you'll probably get some buckets off that. But when it comes down to guarding in space, guarding in isolation, and Luka gets switched onto Brown, or Brown doesn't allow a switch to occur, I'm going to take Brown in 90% of those matchups.
And don't forget, like, Jaylen had a great offensive game as well, too. We
Yeah.
should throw him some flowers there. It was a complete two-way performance. I mean, only overshadowed because Tatum had such a great game as well. But Jaylen Brown really did it on both ends of the court. Phenomenal game.
I mean, if anyone was in the Substack live that I did on Friday, so once a week I go live on Substack for anyone that's subscribed to the newsletter, that was actually an aspect that I pointed out was the Lakers really struggle with not only stopping attempts at the rim, but guarding attempts at the rim. They just don't have good shot stoppers there, and they really struggle with stopping guys from getting downhill, especially in transition. So this felt like a Jaylen Brown game coming in just because of his ability to just push his way through the lane, explode off the bounce, push in transition. Everything that Jaylen Brown does well is what the Lakers offensively is what the Lakers struggle with defensively. So it definitely felt like a JB game coming in. I never expected him to sustain that defensive level along with the offensive production. I did feel like it was going to have to be one or the other. He proved me wrong, man. I mean, that was one of the most complete performances we've seen from him this season.
Yeah, and this three-point shooting that he's been up to the last month or so, if that holds up, man, watch out. We're hanging banners.
Banners, dude. Banners. More than one, because there's already one. So this will be number 2. So then we're in plural, and then we can look at a three-peat. They've got a long way to go before we can start talking about that, though. I'm not jinxing it just yet. If you're still here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I do need to do a better job of reminding you at the start and the middle of the video. Make sure you go and subscribe to the Celtics Chronicle newsletter and show Billy some love if you're a movie fan. Billy's out here just racking up letterbox reviews, man. Where are you up to now? What film are you working on at the moment, Bill?
I just did Mickey 17, the director of Parasite, Best Picture a few years ago, his follow-up. Robin Pattinson, sorry, man, it's a mid-hit from the bong. I love bong, but it ain't it.
And with that, we'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow talking some Al Horford. Everybody enjoy your day. Peace.
Peace.